Awesome. Well, welcome, Jake. Welcome, Carl. Right now we're calling this the TBD podcast, to be determined.
That's actually a cool name.
Well, what we think is because who we are in business, we don't know where we're going, but we want to be successful and be all we can be and that kind of thing. So we're kind of doing it the TBD. So, and we want to bring
the double meaning.
Yeah, we want to bring people along our struggle of growing a business from nothing to something, and so to be determined. We don't know. We have a vision of where we want to go, but we don't actually know where we're going.
I see.
That's where I thought TBD, to be determined, and then we can bring people along, kind of see how we grow and
kind of see all the challenges we're going through as we're going through, because it's easy to look back on challenge and be like, oh yeah, it was just whatever, and kind of forget about the actual day-to-day stuff. So when you're kind of taking the journey with somebody, I think there might be some good value in that.
Yeah, definitely. I have to say, though, I've seen your business and I've heard the numbers, and I wouldn't say that you guys are learning how to do business. You're already damn good at it.
Honestly, for us, or for me, it doesn't feel like it's weird, because it doesn't feel like the more I try to become, the more it doesn't feel like I'm in,
I know that.
I feel like the more I do, the more I feel like, okay, I can do twice as much. So I don't, somebody might look in and say, okay, they look like they're doing good just because they travel or do something like that, so they think you're successful. But in my from where I'm going, it doesn't feel like we're anything successful,
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like that's what got us here isn't going to get us to the next level. So that's why I feel like we need people like you and mentors and that kind of thing.
I do exactly what you just said, though. I travel and
yeah. Well, that's why we hired you. By the way,
but it feels. I feel like I know what you're talking about, because you feel like people tell me, oh, you're so successful, or your business is successful, like I just said. And I feel like it's not. It's just what I'm doing in a day. It just feels like a normal
day. And
it's weird to look back at it and think, okay, I could see how they would think that, but this is just normal, I promise.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's not nothing. I don't feel like I'm anything special. I don't have any better talents than anybody else, or better than anything than anybody else. If I can do it, I feel like literally anyone else can do it, because I'm not anything to write home about. I mean, I have big goals and big dreams and that kind of stuff, and that might make you I don't know, I feel like having a little bit more ambition than everybody else might doesn't make you better. It just makes you where you want to go better, I guess.
Yeah, I just feel like it's, because I've been thinking a lot about this lately. Why are people saying this about me? And what would be the difference? I try to look for patterns and things, and I'm only finding that maybe I just work more than most people do. Mm-hmm. Do you find that too? Well,
sometimes I feel like I do the important stuff more, but I don't feel like I'm always working. I feel like there's a lot of time in my day where I could, and lately I've been feeling that with trying to learn more and do more different things. But I don't feel because to me, I come from a construction background, right? And you're working 6 to 5, and you're physically hard working. Yeah. So now when you're doing office stuff on the computer, it doesn't feel like work. You know what I mean? It just feels like this is stuff that has to get done, and it still takes a long time, but it doesn't feel like shoveling. You know what I mean? I don't know, what have you?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think that it's more work, but more or less it's just more consistency in it. So it's staying at it for longer. So, more work. Some days it's not working 16 hours every day, but it's about doing the work every day that needs to be done.
Yeah.
Instead of just pretty hard work for a week and then not. So I think that's more or less just the consistency of just showing up every day.
It's fair. Yeah.
But this part of the business is way more stressful than going to work for somebody working every day. You're going to get $25 an hour all the time. If you work 8 hours, you're going to make however much. And you have less things to worry about versus when you're keeping people busy and giving people a job, then you're okay, I have to not only supply everything that I need, but I also have to make sure they have what they need, their families are taken care of, and that's can be stressful.
Can I tell you a thing? Las Vegas is cool. I'm sure it's fun. And those high rollers, they go in there and they, start spending 40, 50 grand on every transaction that they do, or every card hand. I think it's weak sauce, though. I think entrepreneurs are the real Las Vegas. It's okay, I'm going to try to build this in a market that already has it, and I'm going to try to compete with people that have already been doing it, and I think I could do it better with limited money and resources. So you dump everything into it, and then you're is this working? Then it comes time to hire someone, like you just mentioned, and you're going to spend money on that person. Well, it's not just the gamble of like, am I making the right move in business to even hire someone for this position? That's gamble number one. There's also, what type of personality is this person going to have? What am I actually signing up to deal with every single day? Times all the employees you hire, times all the money you put onto it, all the money you're putting at risk, and signing off in your house and whatever it is. It's like maybe we're the ones with the problem.
Maybe we're the gamblers.
Not the Las Vegas gamblers. Entrepreneurs, they're just gambling addicts. Is that wrong to think that way?
Gambling addicts, and also like the thrill though, kind of, because I would 100% rather do what I'm doing than, because before I started this, I was working for somebody and had to be on their time. They wanted me there, even though everything, like I would do everything first thing in the morning. I would get done, let's say at 10, with everything that needed to be done that day and to make the next day successful for the guys, for everyone. And then I would bounce. They wanted me there 100% of the time, like from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. They wanted me there at the warehouse, even just sitting there. And to me, I was like, I'm not just going to sit here for 5 hours. I'm not going to just sit I'm going to do everything I can. Yeah. And so we kind of clashed for a little bit, and then they ended up letting me go, which was the best thing they could have done. Also the best thing that could have happened to me, because I learned a ton from them. I learned a ton from working there. And that's what I feel like, working a job, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, working a job and doing the best you can in that job, and taking care of, making sure everything there is taken care of. And then you can kind of at the same time, while you're doing that, do some stuff on the side. Don't ever unless you have another source of income, don't quit your first job.
That's right.
To go into that, because you're shooting yourself in the foot. Because if you know how it is an entrepreneur, sometimes you'll make 20 grand a month or 20 grand a week or whatever. And then the next 6 weeks, you'll make nothing. You're like, that 20 grand, when you make the 20 grand a week, you're thinking, yeah, I'm doing so good right now. I made 20 grand a week. And then you don't make anything for the next 6 months. And you're like, wow, this sucks.
No, yeah, it does. Have you guys dealt with, I make this money and I think all is good. My people are paid. Everyone's happy. Out of nowhere, all of a sudden, the state comes in and is like, oh, according to this article, we're worried that and now we have to do an audit. Mm-hmm. Have you ever had just when everything is going smooth, just the most random thing you could possibly even think of happens, and you're just like, and then they want 80 grand and you're like, wait, this was real? Yeah, we're a real program and we really do charge for this. And it's but no one taught me.
Yeah. It's that's the hard part. And but then again too, that gives you in order to be able to build that, whatever it is, 80 grand, that means you are succeeding or you hope you are succeeding at a level.
You think you are, and then someone comes in and they're like, you thought you were, but watch this.
Thank you for this.
What we can do.
Yeah.
That's why we're always, whenever it starts going good, we're like, okay, what's about to hit us?
Yeah.
This is looking too smooth.
Hey,
too good to be true.
Too good to be true here. Yeah.
Literally, when it's going smooth, I'm like, why is it going so smooth?
What are we missing? What are we not paying attention to?
We sound like a bunch of beat dogs. Don't trust anyone. Cowering in the corner.
Well, I don't think. Yeah, I don't. I mean, this is just some of the troubles you go through.
Yeah.
Some of the. I feel like this is what makes you. The more stress you can, or the more stress you handle, the more stress you can handle.
I had a thought. Tell me if you guys have heard of this. Is there an entity out there that protects businesses? Because I think I've been really thinking, there's no way that you could say that bold of a statement and have that be true. Is there any entity out there that protects businesses? Because I think every entity out there is out to get a company, including if we're in solar, sales reps or clawbacks from banks or any of that stuff, right? It's the bank one makes sense because the money wasn't there; they need it back, right? Yeah. But is there an entity that protects businesses?
I don't think there's an entity, but there's things you can do to protect your business.
Insurance, just another thing that wants money out of the business. Is there any superhero? There, at least, here we have the police. We get in trouble, we can call the cops, or get some protection like that. But how do businesses get protection? Lawyers? They want money too. It's
and then they'll play both sides. Sometimes they're like, oh, we quit and started working for your opponent here.
Yeah, or if an employee comes back and says, hey, I got wrongfully terminated or something, But everyone comes and attacks the business and says, well, you broke the rules and we get to audit you and we get to do this. Who are the people auditing the person making the claim? Where are they? Right? Like maybe it's not us, maybe it's them that needs to be audited.
Well, I think the current climate in business is everyone's against the business owner. Like that's kind of what we're turning to as a society is that people deserve jobs, and that no matter what, the business owner is wrong.
Yeah.
That's the kind of the society we're turning to, which is like America was built on hard work and self-sacrifice and that kind of stuff. But now it's more, I even have somebody that's really close to me that they feel like I owe them a job just because of who they are and what they've done.
Uh-huh.
Like in that they can't comprehend that.
No, I don't.
Yeah, I don't. Literally, they're like, you owe me a job and I have to make this much. Otherwise I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. And you try to explain to them, like, okay, I'll hire you, but I'll hire you and I agree to pay you X, Y, Z, but you agree to do this part. And then they say, okay. And then you come and do that. And then they come back, well, I made the company X, Y, Z.
Oh yeah. They say something else that wasn't even on
and
they try to substitute.
Yeah. Well, I made you $1 million. So I only got paid 100,000. So you're screwing me for 900 grand. Oh. Literally, this is kind of how I think it might be the next younger generation than us. This is kind of how they're thinking.
You brought in $1 million. I paid you 100.
And you agreed for that before.
I have trucks, gas, computers, internet bills. Like none of that matters. You made 900 grand.
Yeah.
Oh no! Every dollar we make is profit. That's net.
Yeah. That's literally what he was thinking. That's kind of crazy.
You know what though? When I was not an owner, because I used to be a sales rep in solar, and this guy was like, hey, come and work with me. And he had broken off from the big guys, the Vivint Legacies, all that at Solar City at the time. He said, come work with my little mom and papa. Can you do that in the solar industry? And sure enough, you can. You can break off and do your thing. And I went to work with him, and I brought in like 36 reps. And I was like, I need part of the company. Like I am all the business here. I'm bringing in all of the revenue. And so I want like half the company. And I didn't quite know what I was doing at the time, because at the time it made perfect sense to me. Bringing in the revenue, I want half the company. But now that I've built a business, I've actually called him. His name is Rob, and if he's listening, hi, Rob. I called him and I apologized. I was like, I am so sorry for thinking that I should get half of your company that you built because I was doing the job you hired me to do. Yeah. I am really sorry about that, because I didn't know what I was doing until after I'd built a company. And then I was like, oh yeah, I should call him and say sorry. Have you guys, Carl, have you felt like that? Or?
Yeah, I definitely, when you're working for people, it feels like you're doing everything, but what you're overlooking is that you're doing it all under their risk and not your own. So it's a big difference there when you're putting all your money, and a lot of times, like you're saying, your house, whatever it is, you're putting everything on the line for this to work. Then just doing the work isn't the most important thing.
Yeah.
So we're in the solar business. We want to talk about a little bit the importance of mentors, not just in the solar business, but in business in general. What do you think the importance of mentors are?
Hate them.
You hate them?
Don't do it.
Yeah. Oh, no.
You already know everything you're going to need to know.
No, I
everything I know I learned in school.
Oh my goodness. I don't want to get started on that. No, I am obviously a mentor for those listening that don't know that. I am a mentor. I coach people. I do that stuff. So for me, I'm going to sound biased, but I'm truly not. I do think people should get them. Absolutely. I didn't believe that they should a while back. I was actually very opposed to going to conferences and listening to people that could tell me how to do what I want to do better, right? The concept was weird, and I just realized it was just pure ignorance. Just the amount of time that you can skip. Once you reach a certain level in business, you really start to understand the value of your time. I feel like we're all kind of programmed to say that. What's your most valuable commodity? Time, right? But once you get to a certain point, you realize that is actually true. It is time. You can make an unlimited amount of money if you had more time, or more time to spend with your family, less guilt while you're building it. Like, time is definitely the limiting factor here. So I've learned that mentors, all they do is they're a warp pole, and they take you from the point you're at to this point, and normally for people, it might take 10 years and they can take you there in a year. Or if it takes a year to get here, they could take you there in a month. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're just skipping time when you bring someone on. And that's why I think mentors are good, is because the time that you save.
Yeah. And is that because you're using like their knowledge and like you're taking everything they know and everything they've learned and applying it?
Well, I tell people this because as little kids, you're told, mom says, don't touch the hot stove. And then we touch the stove, right? And because that's how we learned that. But you can learn 2 lessons. You can learn, okay, don't touch the stove because it's hot when they say it. And also, she has been around for longer than I have, right? She knows things that I don't know. And the moment we get to admit that, is the moment that we can start to skip time. I learned 2 lessons: don't touch the hot stove, and listen to the people that have been through it. And, I didn't learn that lesson when I was a little kid. This is just an analogy I'm using. I learned that lesson like last week.
You didn't touch the hot stove?
You know what? I think I actually did touch the hot stove on that one. But no, my point is, I do think it's important to understand that there are people that are better than you at things, and that's why you're probably talking to them and asking them for advice. So I think the only differentiator between the highly successful and the not are the people that listen to the advice given to them versus those that dip their toes in or dabble or try to do it. Just find the person you trust, and I'm assuming if you're getting advice, you ask that person because you trust them. But if you don't trust them and you're just doing it to be cordial, let's specify. Find someone you trust. Ask them a question on how to handle something and do that because they've already been through it. And that is the secret to success.
Yeah. Do you think it's important to like if somebody knows the theory or or knows how to do it or has done it? What do you think is more important in a mentor? Somebody that has read all the books but they've never done it, or someone that is doing or currently or has done it or is currently doing it?
Yeah, I deal with that all the time in our industry. There are other people that try to do what I do and say that they are mentors in solar and business and stuff like that. Even with you guys, you need a specific help that I do. I've read the books. I've understand it. I know codes. I know what's going to pass inspections. I know all of this stuff. I know the finances have to be on point. I know everything that I know about your business, but I haven't done it, right? I haven't lived it like salt of the earth, beat to the drum every single day, wake up and go and do it. I conceptually understand it. And for that reason, I would make very logical based decisions instead of maybe including some empathetic or emotional ones in there. Things that might come up later on in the future that I have never experienced or read about. And so I have found even if you do the right thing, maybe you have to temper some of the people's feelings around you that are going to be affected. There's a lot of variables that you can't even consider if you have not been into it yourself, which is why even with you guys, I didn't want to take on your project until I had someone that has been through that, even though I knew it, right? So I think it can create damage, and I see that a lot in our industry, and I really hope people are picking people that have been through it and not just read about it or are knowledgeable about it.
Yeah. And then how long do you think people should keep a mentor? Do you think they should hire them for a couple months and then go do everything they say and then hire another one, or just you think they should grow with because mentors are growing. I mean, they're people too, right? They're growing, and if they're a good mentor, the better they understand it, or the better they can make you understand it, the better they can become as a mentor. So do you think it's important to stay with a mentor long term, or?
That's a funny question. I think I'm going to get a split audience on this one for all the mentors listening. I personally think that the very best mentor teaches someone that no longer needs a mentor again. That would be like solar. So you get a homeowner that gets solar, you don't get repeat business. They got solar, you're done, right? So, I mean, unless you go horizontal and start integrating other things, but you're not going to sell them solar again, likely, right? It's a one-time client. And I think if you bring on the right mentor, it should be a one-time client. You should build all of the relationships that you can get out of that person. And I feel like the mentor that reserves and holds things back and says, hey, I'm not going to send you that contact and I don't want you talking to them and just listen to me. I think that's the wrong mentality to have. I think the right mentor will get the people that hired them into a position that they will never need to hire a mentor for that again.
For that particular thing?
Sure.
Okay. But for can one mentor be a mentor for multiple different things, multiple different areas?
I mean, yeah.
In business?
Yeah, it would be, I suppose it would be silly to say not to. For example, I'm good at solar and I'm really good at snowboarding, but I am still way good.
Can I hire you as a snowboard mentor?
Yes. No. But I would say, am I going to be a good mentor for snowboarding? Probably not, because of my schedule. Can I do it? Yes. But my schedule is demanding for the solar side. I'm not doing it every single day like the other guys are. I might miss something. The passion will be there. Am I a good mentor? Yes. Is there someone better? Probably. Right. And just because I have a passion for something and love it and I'm capable of doing it, am I really going to give them the most fresh and sincere experience that they could get from someone else? Yeah. I feel like the only reason I'm successful at what I do is because I don't believe that there is someone that can do it better than me right now, because I'm grinding to improve myself and get better at all times. And if I didn't believe that I was, the best at this, then I wouldn't grind and push as hard as I do to remain to be that.
Yeah. That makes sense. So when you're looking for a mentor in business, what should you look for? Because a lot of times you know that you want to do more, but you don't actually know. Like for us, for example, we know we want to start our sales side. We don't really know anything to do that, anything about starting a sales side, because we've only been on the install side. How do you find a mentor and the right person to, what to look? How do you look for that, and how do you find the right person for that?
Oh, good question. Because you don't even know
we don't even know what we don't know.
Language to ask.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Wow, that one, I have not been asked that. I didn't have actually put any thought into that. I guess my first impulsive answer would be to say social proof. What are other people saying about this person, or testimonials, maybe even calling other companies and seeing, or if they're completely public, like Tony Robbins, and you can read everything about them and know that they're good. Then of course, what do you need? You don't need to do much research on that. So I would just say do your research for sure. Look around, get the social proof, find what you can. Even then you might make mistakes, but usually you can't go wrong if everyone's raving about them. Right?
Yeah. It kind of depends though, because like Tony Robbins, he might be a good overall life mentor, but I wouldn't say he's a good solar mentor, solar business mentor. Yeah. He might be a good business mentor. And I guess some of the basic principles, they apply in every area, right? Mm-hmm. Being successful in your personal life is going to be similar to being successful in your business life. But like, for example, to start a sales company in solar, you need somebody very specific to that industry.
You don't necessarily to start one, right? But you do to skip time. And depending on the I guess the skill level or the skill set level of the mentor, you can still skip time. But do you want to do it small, and then they take you to a point of, I don't know, let's just call it 50 installs a month, and they can manage and take you to that point and do that smoothly, but don't know how to get past that? Or do you want to get the person that has, okay, we want to be doing like 2, 3, 5,000 installs a month? That'd be good, 5,000.
Yeah, literally.
Let's say 2,000 installs a month. We want to get to that. How do we build this now so that we don't have as many losses here, right? The first one can probably get to 50 successfully because that's all they've done, but you need someone. It depends on the company, right? And then to that, I'll bet it depends on the price point of that mentor. Just like Michael Jordan is going to be much more expensive to hire to teach basketball than I would be, right? I couldn't believe anyone would pay me to teach him basketball, but yes, if the price is right, I will take the job.
Are you good at basketball?
I used to be when I was little.
You did? How little?
It's like 3. No, I played in high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are some of the biggest misconceptions about hiring a mentor? And like, how do you also what are some misconceptions, and also how do you open yourself to where you're a good mentee?
Okay. Yeah. So I've seen a lot of famous people. You hit on this a little bit with Tony Robbins, but I've seen a lot of people that get really famous in our industry, but they don't really know anything about solar, right? at all, actually. And they end up being some of the most favorite people in the industry and people to hire and listen to. And it's because sometimes people need training on solar, and sometimes people need training on their mindset or emotional behavior or practices in sales that they can apply to solar, right? And so I guess the first thing would be is determine what it is that you actually want to learn. And then secondly, make sure that you're not following the hype of everything that you see, that you actually look behind the curtain and see what they're actually offering versus what they're really good at marketing you to see.
How do you do that? Because if their marketing's really good, how do you look behind them? You know, some people can have really good marketing. There's some people that are actually going through, like the feds they have them right now because their marketing was really good. A lot of people bought into them, and then they find out it's just a scam. And these mentors, they're not mentoring you on the thing that they're saying they're going to mentor on you. They're just mentoring you on how to sell that thing, you know, like coaching coaches to be coaches, you know?
Well, yeah, and to that point, sometimes people hire mentors and it's not even that person that's mentoring them, right? They think it is, and they think if they hire them, but it ends up being one of their sub-coaches, right? So the way I'm supposed to do it is to, when the hype is happening and, buy here if you want to be someone that makes $5 million every 5 minutes, sign here right now. It'll cost you $10,000. Like say, okay, step back a little bit from the emotion, because that's how we get people signed up, right? And say, okay, I actually need to do my due diligence. I actually do need to ask you a few questions. And if they're still like, oh, absolutely, man, but razzle dazzle, let's go, baby. You sign, you feel good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, sign. Oh, okay. People give in. Stay strong and ask the questions afterwards.
Well, that's hard because the last mentor group I was a part of, I literally, when they called me on the phone to sign me up to this thing, I literally told them, I was like, I don't want to have just a bunch of online courses and programs and a Facebook group that I'm a part of. I actually want to meet I want to meet the people in person, and I don't even care if it's a 1 week, once a week every quarter or whatever. I just don't want to all be online. He's like, no, it's cool. Yeah, it's exactly what we are. So I was like, okay, signed up. Okay, here's all your stuff. Oh. And then once a year we do this live event and you can come to, and it's $75 extra dollars, and you'll fly down here and then you get to meet everybody. And then this is going to be the great thing. That's what I'm saying. How do you look behind the curtain when their marketing is so good? Yeah. And some of these guys, some of the people even that are doing that are legit. Like the actual people, like the face of it are legit people, but they have, in order to deal with a large amount of people, they can't be one-on-one with everyone.
Right. Yeah, that's tough. I don't know. I mean, now it's easy to say, but now that you've been through it, I'm sure you would do things differently. Yeah. Just hearing that experience, I haven't had a bad one with mentors yet. I don't know if it's because I'm difficult to sign up with them.
Yeah. And it was, the content they give is still it's good content, but
not what you hope for.
Yeah. I mean, you can get most of that stuff on YouTube for free, versus paying
ouch.
$1,500, to be a part of their Facebook group.
Yeah. I've heard about all this. For the record, folks, I don't have a Facebook group for the mentoring side. I do have a lot of Facebook groups.
But you got to.
That wasn't very clear.
Well, this is also why we have editing and that kind of stuff, which is cool. A couple other things we want to talk about with just plans for altitude, plans for our company. As far as expanding into new markets, what are some things we need to consider? What are some things to look out for? Who are there people in these markets we need to connect with? What do you think about going into new markets, and not just going there, but also being successful in these new markets?
Well, I'm hearing about this on the podcast here now.
This is some things we would want to do. I mean, it's not
in the future.
What are some?
Yeah, I would say if it were my vote, and remember, I'm here to advise, and I'm not here to dictate and say, right, whatever any of my clients choose, I'm just going to help them down that path the best way that I know that I've done it, right? So in this scenario, I would say, hey, I get wanting to expand to multiple states. My personal advice would be, let's make a revenue stream work in the state that you're in with the AHJs that you're familiar with and the processes, so that when we put weight on the sales side, we make sure that all of the systems and operations and checks and balances that we've built work beautifully before expanding to a new market that we're either going to learn or run into complications with. Because we're assuming more overhead if we do that, and more liability, larger risk, right? So I would love to make one market work first and flawlessly, and then expand would be my...
Even if some people are like, let's say we need salespeople in our, right now is one of the biggest things I'd say we need is salespeople. If there's a new market where salespeople are saying, hey, come here, we're already here, we're set up. Do you think it's worth setting up something there, or saying that we're trying to get everything running here first and then go there?
Yeah, I would say it depends on the maturity of the sales rep. Something I would advise is, sales reps or sales orgs or teams, dealers, whatever you want to call them, they build these monsters, these really big ones, and they expect certain things. And that's where you can get into trouble, even though they have the volume as their expectations. They expect stuff, timely installs, right? Timely site surveys, don't miss this, no adders for that. If it's canceled, don't claw us back. You don't know a lot of the dynamic, right? So taking on that much volume can hurt you until expectations are properly set, is one of them. And if you do set them, sales orgs have a habit of, once they make a tremendous amount of money, to celebrate. And I made this mistake in my career. I worked with an EPC and they built to my volume, which means they became reliant on me. And I wrote about this so most people can read about it, and I am not proud of it. It's actually one of the things I probably regret most in my entire career, is I had them build to my volume, and I said, hey, I need these jobs to go in, and you need to do them now, because those ones went in and they're getting mad that you haven't put these ones in because they're like 2 streets down. And he said, I can't do that. They're in different AHJs. I know they're 2 streets apart. The permitting processes are different. I said, Jay, I don't care. Go install those. I don't care what your excuses are, I grew up and found out these are not excuses. These are real things, right? But my point is, like, how mature are they? And, how much are they willing to work with you? Because if you build out there and they do get upset with you and they leave, then what are you left with? Because I did that, and it really destroyed that business. I think I put him out of business, and, it was around Christmas too. So what did he go tell his kids? And I was his only source of revenue. And, I played hardball, told him I only want to sell this product now. He said, that's not how and I'm like, I'm not breaking our contract. You are completely fulfilling your side by doing our installs. You said my job is to just do all the installs through you. I'm not breaking my contract. I'm asking you to do this project instead of that one now. It's more profitable. And he did it. And so I pulled out and destroyed him. So if you've got guys like me running around that are not mature yet doing that, then I guess we go back to Las Vegas.
Yeah. That brings up another question I have about contracts. What's the point of a contract? Because at any point somebody can say, I'm done, like, let's say you sign a contract to do the fulfillment for a company, and then you do all the jobs and they give you a net 30, net 60 day payment terms. After you do the jobs and let's say the net 30 day passes, what protects you? What's something that protects your contract? Because your contract, they can say, okay, I'm bankrupt, bye. What's something that protects you and makes so that you're for sure going to get paid on those? Have you dealt with anything like that? Nothing
insures it. Contracts are pointless.
Yeah. So what's the point of a contract? That's what I'm asking. What's the point of a contract if there's nothing that that enforces that contract?
I've kind of found contracts today to not do what you originally hoped they would do. And like, okay, you said you would do this, now pay up. It's not, because if they don't want to, they're not going to. And then you could have all these legal recourses and ramifications, but if they don't have the money, they just don't have the money. Right. Mm-hmm. So I have found contracts to be more of a solution for forgetfulness than actually being able to apply it legally.
So what's something that you could apply? Like what protects you as a business owner if you go and say, okay, I'll do this job for you for X amount, and they agree to that and you agree to that, and then you do the job, you do your part. like what's something that, how can you protect yourself from the downside of not getting paid?
As a mentor?
No, I'm just like, if I'm a business owner and I have a contract with another person, if I have a contract with another business, they say, okay, we need you to come do X, Y, Z. I agree to that for pricing. And then I do my part. And then 60 days later, they're not paying. They haven't paid. How do I
think the answer would be different depending on the entity you're talking about, right?
How do you protect yourself as a business to make sure that, because you are relying on that money, right? Because you're putting guys out, you're doing all that. How do you protect yourself that, like if a contract means nothing basically besides protect you from forgetfulness, and how do you protect yourself? How do you protect yourself in business?
I don't know if you can, honestly. Businesses get hammered all the time with contracts. You can put stuff in there, set expectations. I mean, all the normal answers, right? Hey, let's set proper expectations with this person, whether it's a homeowner or business or whoever. Let's set proper expectations with them. This is how we want to do things. They could change their mind at any time, right? You could put the expectations down. You could put them in a contract. And I don't think there's any protection. I think you just have to get it. I think you have to build a relationship with that person or get to know them before you get into business with them. Contracts are great for references and say, he said, she said, or hey, I forgot, how did we handle this? Because this is how I understand it. And they say, oh no, it was handled this way. Look at the contract. I'm like, oh, that was my misunderstanding. That's an honest person, because that's who you want to work with, right? It's a misunderstanding or I forgot how it works thing. Otherwise, you're going to go down these legal battles, these legal holes. You're going to pay tons of fees, and then once you get there, you don't even know if you're going to win. And if you do win, was it a financial win or a moral win? And it's just like protections. I don't think there are any for a business. And I know I sound a bit jaded, but I think you just get into business with someone that you trust.
Yeah, because
I think a way to help with that is just don't over extend yourself with one company or person. So try to leverage your risk out more, because if you feel like that it's your business, like in your situation where you had that guy was doing a lot of work for you to where it would put him out of business to not work with you, I think that leaves you pretty vulnerable. So if you feel like that you can't trust them good enough to where you're going to go out of business, I think you should start looking for other avenues to help mitigate that.
Yeah, so I would never do that again, and I didn't even plan on doing that to that person. So how does he protect himself in that situation? I don't even know if that's a lesson he would have learned until it happened, right? Or someone or a mentor told him it could happen. Neither one of us knew that we were able to do that to each other until that moment. And it was a disagreement. There was nothing in the contract, right? I think only experience will tell you that, or to your point, in the basis of our conversation, or a mentor. A good one probably had been through that, right? If I'm mentoring a business like yours, I would tell you to avoid getting in that situation and taking on revenue just to fulfill someone out in a different area. I would do it slowly.
Yeah. Well, then how do you develop new relationships with these businesses? Because let's say there's a solar company and they need people to, they're however big they are, but they need people. You come in and offer your service, and then you, because of what they've done, you were able to, because of the work they gave you, now you're able to like grow and expand. How do you keep that relationship going so they don't think like, oh, these guys are growing too big for us, they're going to become our competition? Sure. and that kind of stuff? How do you, like, that's why I feel like when I go to meet someone new in solar, they always feel like, is this guy going to try to like take my shit? Kind of, how are you
going to try to poach sales guys and that kind of thing?
So if it's an EPC that's wanting to like yourself, that wants to expand to a new market, and they want to use that person, I do genuinely believe that you can create a good relationship with that person. And this, to me, this would be the hardest route. The easiest route is make a policy that you will not expand to a new market unless you at least have 3 separate teams that are bringing this kind of volume in that you need, so that if you lose one of them, you still have 2/3 of the volume left over, right? Not one of them can control you. And I would say that's the easiest route to do it. If you wanted to go the route where it's just one large one and you want to take the volume there and base it off of that, I do genuinely believe that you could build and cultivate a strong relationship with that person, as long as you had the safety precautions in place, you had the media, like the social media aspect backing you. You had like just this massive influence on a program where they're going to lose more. They have more to gain with you other than just the relationship of the installation and sales process. They have more to gain from you, like accesses to specific things they don't, or benefits, or something where they're relying on you for more than just the installation process.
Yeah. Especially if they're doing that themselves. If they have their own teams that are doing that, and then you're kind of coming in, you know how our business works. Yeah. Then how do you like protect yourself? That's a big thing we're getting to the point of, like, how do we protect ourselves from, we have a situation where a guy agreed to pay us a certain amount for these jobs. And so we agreed to that. We did the job. It took more than we had to go up and clean up a system for a company that had fucked it up already. We did the job. It cost more than he expected because we were just T&M. Yeah. And then when he gets the bill, and he's like, "Whoa, this is way more than I expected." Like, how do you protect yourself and say, well, this is what you agreed to, this is what we agreed to?
Well, it would just, unfortunately, I think in this circumstance and most that we've talked about, I think it would just be going through it. It would be touching that hot stove on accident. No one's there to tell you, hey, don't touch it, right, at this point. So touch the hot stove and then go back and readjust the agreement and the expectations and add it every single time you're coming into it. You know, and to be fair, even hiring a mentor, this might not be good to say, but even hiring a mentor, it would be impossible for any mentor to say, okay, if you decide to go down this path, these are the 1 million different things that potentially could happen to you, and put them in the contract. You know, sometimes we all need reminders, but at least we'd be able to tell you how to handle it when it came. That's a tough question. And if we knew that, most businesses, I don't think, would go through this process, right? But I do think that there are people that have been through it and can tell experiences like I did to this other guy to you, and help you mitigate some things or take on less risk than you probably would have if you did not hear that story or recommendation, right?
Is there a way you can do it with the bank? Because most of these projects are bank funded, right?
You can get super creative. You can do it
like protect yourself with a bank.
Well, the bank pays the EPC. They never pay the sales org, so you hold the money. It's not like the rep is going to call the bank and the bank's going to be like, our relationship is not with you, it's with them, right? So you hold the money. So I don't know why the bank would get involved, but yeah, there are things you can do. For example, you can build into your contract like, hey, we'll make sure that we'll get you guys an office space. However, the office needs to be in your name. You signed for it, we'll pay for it. As long as you're doing the volume that you're doing, you'll have a meeting space. In fact, here's a budget for you to renovate the place and or to make it your own, right? That's a service that is beyond you're just doing the sales and install. And if they're relying on you to fund that building, they would now have to build their operations to a place to be able to afford that if you stopped. And of course, you bake it into your redliner. My point is that might not be the best idea. It could work, but it depends on how creative you want to get and what the needs are of the other person. If it was going to be a single business, I would make sure I would find out what those needs were, and I would three-prong cling into them, not just the install sales relationship. I'd find 2 others so that they needed me until I could let those talents out and have other business coming in so that I wouldn't lose my...
Yeah. This is another issue we're dealing with too, as we've had a good relationship with a company, a very good relationship with a company for years and years and years. And then then at some point, then you grow bigger and bigger and bigger as you have a good relationship with them, and you're doing more and more of their work. And then you're taking more and more risk on because you're doing more of their work. So then you're like, when you first started, you're doing maybe 10 grand a month worth of work. And then you get to where you're doing 100 grand a month worth of their work. Then it becomes more important to protect yourself because you're doing twice as much and you can get twice as fucked.
Absolutely. There's business owners out there that have a policy that they will not take a certain amount of percentage of a business from one company over another when they're a fulfillment company like you, for this very reason, right? Once they monopolize the volume, then they own your company. That's just how it works.
Yeah. Yeah, these are some of the growing pains we're going through right now, and some of the things we need help with. Besides the because we have two parts of our business, the install part and then the sales part that we're launching. And we need help with both.
We're going to kick ass at the sales part, right?
I can't wait.
That's
I can't
why we
wait to
have
dive into that. How much longer do we have? I think we're about at time right now. You want to tell us a little bit about SolarCon and that kind of stuff? Throw a plug into this.
Yeah, we just built it because, one of the things, we do have a lot of Facebook groups, and we get so many questions in there. And so we have this very strong pulse on what the industry is asking about. Joe and I also travel the country, as you know, and we go into businesses. We hear what the complications are even from businesses. And I feel like, we can create a voice to help the entire industry. And that's what SolarCon is. We wanted to build something and market something where everyone that had these different feelings and opinions and ways that we could improve the industry and help each other, but there was no platform for them to deliver that message. So we built SolarCon to be an educational only conference, a no pitch event, so that people could find safe harbor and a place that they could go to find all of the information and connections that they want in order to be successful in solar. This is why we don't try to make money from stage at SolarCon. SolarCon last year wasn't even profitable, but we have made a significant impact in the industry. And I love it feels good, all of the feedback we've gotten and all the lives that have been impacted by it. So
a little experience that I had with SolarCon. When we went there, we weren't doing well in our business. We were like slow, seemed like things were like not doing that good. And then we went there and met a few people, and it seems like from the day that we went there, we like took off. It was weird. And it doesn't feel like we learned that much or did that much, but our business probably did twice or 3 times as much this year as it did the year before that. And it all happened after we went to SolarCon. So we met a lot of, I feel like we met a lot of good people, but it felt like since we went there and the stuff we learned, we applied it to our business, and we went twice. We did twice as much. So
that makes me happy.
That's my little.
That's why we built it.
Yeah, and I can't wait to go to this year. Where do people go to, or where can people find more information about that? And
so the website is attend SolarCon because we want you to attend. Also, we don't own the SolarCon domain. Some trucking company built an antenna so that truckers could communicate, and they decided to call that SolarCon. They took it from our industry. So it's attendsolarcon.com is where you can go find that. Yeah.
Awesome, man. And how can people find you?
Just Instagram is Jake Hess, and on Facebook, Jake Hess. Super easy, yeah.
Well, follow him, and he's awesome. We're glad to have him a part of our team and kind of been working with him. He's been awesome, and thank you guys for watching. For a little bit more information about Altitude Solar, go to altitude.solar on Instagram and on YouTube and online. And then my name's Stockley Barlow, and this is Carlson. And thanks for watching. Take care.
See you guys.
See ya.